They imagine that progress is defined by how difficult things are. I mean, my favorite, it's not just, oh, isn't it terrible? Young people don't know anything. Well, my other favorite is that young people, they're going to earn less than we did, and they may not live as well as their parents, and they're so spoiled and everything. I'm like, have you ever heard something more bullish? Wait. So they're really spoiled? Yeah, well, see, that's a sign of progress. That's a bullish thing. Wait, they get married later, they start their careers later. Again, signs of progress. In the past, you find me a society where people are going backwards, where actually they have less. And I will show you one in stupendous decline. We can go all over Africa right now and we can find people that have never seen cars before, that have never seen motorcycles. Well, yeah, see, we see all of that and we see so much more. Of course, we're entitled because all we know is progress. I don't ever want to see the day when Americans aren't entitled.
Well, that's a good point. And the COVID, getting back a little bit to the COVID experience, there was this, um, you know, you point out that 100 years ago, if it had been 1920, and we of course did have the Spanish flu, whatever you want to call it. It was actually, I think, a Chinese flu. They called the Spanish flu. Um, and if coronavirus had come around, I actually made the same example over and over again during the early stages, the dark stages of COVID, when I took to Facebook Live and had my weekly fireside chat urged by some of my Facebook friends. But I don't think coronavirus would have been a big deal. I would much rather have had SARS-CoV-2 absent any prophylactic vaccine than have had 1918 H1N1 absent any prophylactic vaccine. They didn't have vaccines then for flu. They didn't. I'm not sure they understood viruses as a concept back then either. But that one skewed towards the young, and coronavirus clearly, as far as it gets people, is elderly. So I much rather have had SARS-CoV-2. But even so, you point out kind of the counterfactual world. What if we didn't test this? And I frankly think that that's where we should be now. We really quite early into SARS-CoV-2 experience, I think we should have stopped testing. It becomes its own manufactured den of horrible distorted mirrors. And I'm wondering whether you might want to speak to your example of 1920 SARS-CoV-2.
Well, I would actually want to speak to my 2000 example. What if it had revealed itself in 2000? There's not a chance that there's a lockdown then, because in 2000, most of us couldn't work from home very easily. And so the elites would never have given up their own jobs for it. And believe me, I'm not saying this as an anti-rich person. I trust me on that. But I'm saying the vast majority of us needed to go to a place to work. The vast majority of us didn't have Netflix at the time, so we could stream TV all day. The vast majority of us did not have Facebook. Well, none of us had it, Facebook, so we could keep in touch with friends, and Zoom and all the things that rich people and middle class and poor people did to remain in touch. And arguably most important of all, we didn't have Uber Eats, so we could tell those subhumans who did need to work and had to be out and about working to just leave the bag at the doorstep. Don't touch the door. Don't touch anything in our house, but just leave. Let us know that you dropped the food off. We couldn't have functioned in 2000 in these hideous lockdowns. And so that's one of my biggest fears. This technological progress is only going to get better, and thumbs up to that. What if they try to lock us down in 2050? It's going to be even easier to do it. And that's why Americans need to be vigilant. No, just don't ever, ever, ever give up your freedom, because their ability to do it will grow and grow and grow, not just because it's so much easier to step away for a time and not have to step away.
So I've had on Aaron Day, who is a Brownstone Fellow, and his concern and worry is this CBDC, central bank digital currency. I always try to think of it as CBD, cannabis I wonder if you have thoughts about that as far as, kind of getting everyone on the worldwide registry.
Oh, gosh. I tease Jeffrey about this all the time. That he and his Austrian crowd, they're so obsessed with central banks. This isn't me defending the Fed. I've written books
Mhm.
about the Fed, making fun of it. I've probably written more articles that ridicule economists at the Fed than anyone alive. But come on, what do we know about the history of governments with money? Is they always devalue. And so if the Fed creates a central bank digital currency, so what? Will it be better than the dollar created by the federal government? It's the best currency in the world, arguably, but it's been devalued a lot over the years. How would this be different? The reality is, at least to me, and I argue it in my book number 6 about money, is that of course it's going to be a private entity that creates the actual crypto monies that actually circulate, and it will, simply because governments have always devalued. Maybe a private issuer won't. I think the odds are greater that a private issuer won't.
So I kind of having, I'm going to have to re-listen to that and digest it. So when you talk about the devaluing part, um, this is it because government keeps issuing more money than is really necessary for?
No, no, that's a big myth. They always say, yeah, government creates more money than the market. Please. So all that time when the dollar had a stable value as 1/35th of a gold ounce or 1/20th, was the Fed acting as croupier, uh, adding and subtracting dollars from the economy? Money circulating in the economy is a function of production. That's why there's lots of money in Newton mass and very little money in, historically, Chester. Wait, let me think. There's very little money in, I don't know, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Mhm.
That's not because the Fed puts a lot in one place and very little in the other. Where there's production, there's money. And so I don't think it's that. I just think historically governments, in 1933, FDR just decided, the dollar is now worth 1/35th of an ounce of gold. It used to be 1/20th. And he said, oh, by the way, if I change my mind, I'll change my mind on the value of the dollar any day I want to. The Fed was very against this, by the way. The Fed Chair Eugene Meyer was so against what FDR did that he resigned and bought the Washington Post to fight the inflationary tendencies of the president. The Fed was powerless in this. In 1971, the Fed begged Richard Nixon, Fed Chair Arthur Burns begged Nixon not to take us off the gold standard. But Nixon did anyway, because that was his power. That was the power of the U.S. Treasury. Fed was powerless. And as a consequence, the dollar was devalued. And so currency stability is a choice. It's a policy choice. This currency will be stable. We will back it in such a way, whether it's by gold or we'll peg it to something. Sometimes governments don't do it. Sometimes we haven't done it, and as a consequence, it loses value because that's the policy. But governments can never. This is something the Austrians keep mistaking. They keep saying governments can force money into the economy. They can boost the money supply. They can do no such thing. Where there's production, there's money. Where there's no production, there's very little money.
If you like this video, check out the full interview. Also, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you get notified every time a new video is uploaded. Thanks for watching.